You're listening to Karle and Kenner's Hitting the Bar for your weekly football news, for all of your football views, and yes, that football banter. One a Tottenham supporter, the other an Arsenal supporter, all here on Karle and Kenner's Hitting the Bar.
Hello and welcome to yet another edition of Karle and Kenner's Hitting the Bar. Football from monocles to man buns. With this particular episode, we're going to be talking about all the latest transfer rumours and transfer done deals, as we are pretty much halfway through the transfer window, plus of course some managerial ins and outs. I'm joined by Geoff Saunders because unfortunately Steve Kenton, the Kenners of Karle and Kenners, is not with us. Hello, Geoff.
Hello, Chris. Hi. It's good to be here. And for those fans of Steve's history, sadly his history of Accrington Stanley from 1891 to 1964 when they went out of business will have to wait until he gets back.
Yes, so for the one person who was looking forward to that, we do apologise, Steve. He was the one person looking forward to hearing about that. Steve is away working. So we're going to crack on with this episode. Let's start, Geoff, with possibly no surprise. Probably took longer than we expected. Benitez leaving Newcastle after all this time. Yeah,
it did take a long time. I think Benitez kept hanging on, hoping that Ashley would make him any sort of offer, but he wasn't prepared to offer any more money or a decent length of period. So everything's hung up until he can sell the company, the club.
Right, yeah. I mean, I think that's the problem there is that Benitez has hung on for maybe a decent transfer window.
Yeah.
Enough cash to spend. He hung on. He got them up to, 10th this season?
Yeah, which when you look at that squad, you look player for player in his best 11, and 10th is ridiculous overachievement. I mean, he's done really, really well.
So what next let's start with Newcastle, and then what next for Benitez? I mean, many managers have been put in the running, including Sean Dyche of Burnley.
A good shout, I would say.
Yeah.
Good fit.
Yeah, so let's talk about who we think would be the manager and who would be interested in going to Newcastle. I mean, I did read a speculative article in the Daily Mirror saying that Mourinho is being considered. I don't think they'd consider him, and I don't think he'd consider them.
No, that's just nonsense, isn't it? That's not going to happen. Mourinho buys big. Yeah. And his success has come when he's bought big, so that's not going to apply to Newcastle. If somebody bought the club and invested the money in it, it would be a huge club. The support there is fantastic. It's the catchment area is them and no one else. But someone like Sean Dyche is a better bet. There's talk about Vieira.
Oh yes,
who's done well at Nice, so that's not a bad shout. Not sure if you'd want to go there. Arteta from City, can't help thinking he's better off staying where he is and waiting for Guardiola to get fed up with City, which will be end of next season.
You think he'd step up and replace Guardiola?
Yeah, I don't see why not.
In that case, you'd think he'd want to stay there rather than...
I mean, he is Spanish. He's come from the same background as the people who run the company, the club, sorry.
Company, yeah.
Another sort of maybe bit left fieldish possibility is Von Bronckhorst from Feyenoord. So he went to Feyenoord. They hadn't won the league for 17 years. He won the cup in the first season. He won the league for them in his second season, so it's 18 years. So he's got some track record. Seems to be good. He was a great midfield player, so he's obviously got the intelligence. One of the names that was thrown up today was Gerrard, which I can't see. I don't think he'd want to test himself.
Well, look, you're going to go from Rangers, where you're guaranteed to finish in the top two, pretty much.
Yeah.
And you're going to get a Champions League place. You're going to go out, obviously, in the group stage generally, or get possibly to the next round. Every year, and there is going to be you're going to win one of 3 cups, aren't you? So you're guaranteed a silverware every year at Rangers, whereas at Newcastle you're going to be struggling, just to sign players.
Absolutely.
And to finish mid-table. Where's the glory in that?
Yeah. I mean, you look at compare him to Lampard. Lampard went to a championship club to, if you like, do his apprenticeship, to learn, to develop. Gerrard would only take a guaranteed win position. So he's going to play Celtic 5 times and he lost 4 times.
Yeah.
But you beat everyone else. Well, Rangers should beat everyone else. So so what? The manager in the Scottish League who overperformed was Steve Clarke. Took Kilmarnock up to second last year, and now he's Scotland manager. But Gerrard showed he wasn't going to put himself in the position where he could be seen to fail.
Right.
And Newcastle need a manager who's not scared to fail, because that is the alternative. Those players should, that team should have been relegated this season.
Yes.
And they weren't.
Yeah, I mean, they ended up finishing sort of mid-table, mundane mid-table position where punching above their weight a little bit.
Very much so, yeah.
And that was what Benitez was given, wasn't it? You're going to get no money, no development, no nothing, but we expect you to finish mid-table. Yeah. It's going to be a big shout for any manager going in there. Why would Sean Dyche take that?
Because there's more potential there than there is at Burnley, I guess. But again, if it's not on the back of a new owner coming in, if I was Sean Dyche, I'd stay where I am.
Well, you would, wouldn't you? I mean, he's obviously well settled in at Burnley. They had a very good season before last. Started very badly this season, mainly because of Europa League. Again, Europa League. You're not going to get that with Newcastle.
No.
So no European adventures. Not going to be in the spotlight apart from being at a club that doesn't spend money.
Yeah. No, we'll leave Europa League to Manchester United because,
Yes, we're going to come on and we're going to destroy Manchester United and their rather farcical catch-all transfer policy in a little while. But let's just finish off with Newcastle. Who would want to go there?
Well, I think Ian here, who used to be the sort of owner-manager here in our bar, came up with a good name. Lee Clark, who used to play, of course, he used to play for Newcastle when they had that fantastic side, the Entertainers they were called. And he's done a brilliant job at Charlton. I mean, a fantastic job, got them promoted. I think he'd be a very good fit.
Yeah, maybe time for him to snap up. And that actually, for somebody stepping up, it's a good job.
Yes.
For somebody established or a known name, probably not. But stepping up from Charlton to Newcastle is not such a big leap as can be, that would be unmanageable.
Well, there is a practical consideration that because of where he has been managing, he knows a lot of the players who would be likely players that Newcastle are looking to buy. Right. Because, Newcastle aren't looking to buy from the top table, are they?
No, this is the thing. We're talking about, let's move on from Newcastle, talking about leaps too far. Chelsea have been, as we're recording, 27th of June, here in our bar in the El Zocco Centre, Calahonda. As we speak, and of course it has been the rumour for a week now, Mel Morris, I think it is, at Derby County, or as it is known currently, Frank Lampard's Derby County, shortly to be the club formerly known as Frank Lampard's Derby County. Chelsea have been given permission to speak to said eponymous Frank Lampard. Now, obviously considered by many a legend at Chelsea, won so many trophies with them under their 16 years with Abramovich. He's been given permission to speak to them about the vacant managerial position vacated by Sarri, who's gone to Juventus. We've got several takes on this one, Geoff. Why would they be looking at Lampard?
Well, I think first thing, to keep the supporters happy. He'd be a popular appointment. He does have a record, along with Jody Morris, of developing young players. And since they're going to have a 2-year transfer ban, bringing some of those young lads back from loan and playing them and developing them would be a sensible strategy for them. But for the thing to work, then Lampard will have to be promised 2 years where it doesn't matter if he doesn't qualify for the Champions League. So Abramovich is going to have to write off 2 years and say, we don't know, we don't care, we know we can't buy anyone, you just develop these players, and the worst case scenario is they're worth a lot more money to sell at the end of it if it doesn't work out.
Right.
So in that respect, it's a pretty good move. However, from Lampard's personal perspective, if I was him, I would stay where I am, get Derby promoted, and then his value goes up much higher. I don't see any need for him to rush into the Chelsea job, because let's be honest, the Chelsea job's going to become available in 2 years. It always is.
Yes. I mean, they've had, in the 16 years that Abramovich, and we know how he likes to mix it up with managers, in the 16 years that he's owned Chelsea Football Club, they've had 13 different managers. Of course, a couple of them have been the same managers twice. Yeah. So 13 is one thing. 11 unique and individual different managers. 11 in 16 years. So I think that job is going to come up again, especially once the transfer ban is lifted. Yeah. So it's sort of, it looks good for Chelsea. Is it good for Frank Lampard? I don't think so.
No, I don't either. And Max Allegri is sitting there on the sidelines taking his year off. And so there's going to be this shadow over him all the time. Yeah. So if he's got the guarantees from Abramovich that he has 2-3 years and he's judged a success on what happens in the third year, okay, okay, it's credible.
I mean, talking of Lampard, I mean, he's saying he's had one full season as a manager, just one full season.
Yeah.
Finished 6th at Derby County on 74 points. Everybody raving about him. When he took over Derby County at the beginning of the season, they'd finished the previous season under one manager for a full season. They finished 6th on 75 points, so 1 point less under Lampard. Yeah. I don't really see where the progression has been until I started looking at it. And Mel Morris, I think it is the head guy at Derby County, has said the point being that he has developed. They obviously didn't spend as much as a lot of the other top 6 clubs. He developed a lot of the youth players, which is your point that Chelsea will be looking for him to do while they can't buy any big marquee signings.
Yeah, and 2 of those youth teams that he developed are actually loanees from Chelsea who are going back, so it hasn't really helped them that much in...
Well, no, because they're left without them.
Yeah.
So we don't think Lampard would be a good fit then. What we're saying is don't do it, Lamps.
No, it's a good fit under a given set of circumstances. But if I was Lampard, I wouldn't do it. I'd wait. Right. Because the job will become available again.
Sure, yeah, so you'd rather be the one going in rather than coming out after what is going to be a period of stagnation, a sort of Brezhnev-type era of nothing happening.
But just imagine how attractive he'd be if he spends the next season, gets Derby promoted. Then his value is, much, much higher.
I mean, he can, first of all, command a better wage, and his star will be rising, and he'll have actually proved himself.
Yes.
Whereas this, you've been asked to do a holding job, aren't you? And I think it's not fair.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. So Frank Lampard, we shall see in the next few days. They're saying they're going to announce it this week, but that's the papers. So we don't know what's going to happen there. Chelsea have a transfer ban currently.
Yeah.
In today's papers, they are going to make a signing for 40 million.
Oh, Kovacic.
Yes. They're allowed to do this because...
Oh, because he has been playing for them on loan, is my understanding of it. Well, okay, fair enough. I think it's a stupid signing. He's not worth 43 million, and he's been one of the reasons they've failed to perform adequately or properly this season. I wouldn't have him. But you would have to say, if this is serious and it's actually happening, as opposed to just something in the newspapers, then the incoming manager must have agreed it already.
Well, that was kind of what I was leading up to. That why would you make a signing during the week that you're going to announce, possibly, a new manager, unless you knew who the new manager was and he's gone, I want him.
Yeah, exactly. And I can't understand why he would want.
Well, there you are. So maybe Lampard probably knows the player better than we do and sees something in him we don't, or Lampard is not going to take the job, and they've thought, well, we'll sign somebody to bring a better manager in or attract somebody. We've made this signing.
Kovacic doesn't... buying an Eden Hazard or, some attractive forward, then, I can understand. But Kovacic, who's... what is he exactly? He's not really a box-to-box midfielder. He's not holding midfielder. What exactly does he do? I've never seen it. I don't get it.
So this is kind of Chelsea-esque, though, isn't it? In many ways, and very much. I want to move on to Tottenham and Arsenal next, because Arsenal signings, of course, would be in that sort of vein. So we're clutching at straws.
So we're going for comedy now, are we?
Yeah, we're moving on to the comedy section of the show. Tottenham. Let's start with Tottenham. Again, pen hasn't been put to paper, but it is pretty clear, unless something strange happens, that Tottenham are going to make a record £65 million signing of Tugay Ndombele.
The lad from Lyon.
Lyon plays for Lyon. He has the second highest number of assists for Lyon last season. Just 3 years ago, he was playing in almost minor league football.
Yeah.
22 years old. Didier Deschamps, who obviously gave him his first cap for France just last year, describes him as a box-to-box midfielder who will get out of trouble by turning away from it and then passing forward, something that's been missing from Tottenham.
Oh, yeah.
We got away with murder in the Champions League. You and I watched the 2 games against Ajax, and in both those games, Tottenham was certainly missing a playmaker and certainly missing anybody who would pass the ball forward.
Exactly, yeah. He does look the real deal. And that, I've never understood this Jack Wilshere thing. You get the ball and you turn back towards your own goal, and then it ends up 20 yards further back with a centre-half who then lumps it forward. Well, why didn't you lump it forward from 20 metres further up the pitch,
Yeah.
And maybe lump it quite hard towards the goal.
There's the ultimate aim to get it in that area. I agree, you and I have had this conversation off air several times, having watched England very painfully, a few times recently. The one thing you want is to get the ball in the box, because defenders and goalkeepers are going to be more under pressure to make a mistake than a striker. If a striker makes a mistake, the midfielder there to soak it up if the ball comes out. If you pass it back, you're putting your own defence under pressure. So I don't really understand why England and Tottenham and Arsenal, for goodness sake, aren't playing the passing forward game. Get it forward, and then if you make a mistake, you're still in a position to soak it up after.
Yeah, you look at the great attacking sides through history, and they all have one thing in common, irrespective of who plays for them. They all hit their front man early and fast. Think of Ian Rush for Liverpool. Alan Hansen's only instruction from his manager was, when you get the ball, you hit Rush early and fast. Get it to him. He'll hold the man off. He'll lay it off, and then you start playing from 15 metres further up the pitch. Why would you not do that? I'm not talking about a Wimbledon ball, a long ball over the top, and you hope that your big man is going to knock the ball down. We're talking about a pass. And you look at England against Spain in that Nations League thing, on those goals, particularly the one made by Harry Kane, where we received the ball direct from the goalkeeper, spun, laid the ball off. Two simple forward passes. Yeah. Pass the ball forward.
Yeah, but this is something that we've seen. It all started, didn't it, with tiki-taka and all that becoming a popular thing. And English managers in the English Premier League have taken that, pardon the pun, a step too far.
Well, not just that, but they completely misunderstood what it was. And Guardiola found that when he went to Bayern Munich. And there's a great biography of him written by someone who's known him for many years. In those early training sessions in Bayern Munich, he was going mad, screaming at the players, "What are you doing?" Because they were doing what they thought they saw. The ball would go forwards, out to the wing, and then back again, and round like a hockey stick going round to the other side and then back again. He said, "What are you doing?" He said, "Well, that's what Barcelona do." "No, it's not," he says. Everything you're doing is much too slow. The reason you move the ball side to side is to move the defence side to side, because the defence only cover 50% of the pitch at any one time. They just move as a line side to side. He said, you've got to get them out of position. That's the purpose of it. Don't just pass for the sake of making a pass. And it took him a long time to get Bayern to play the way that Barcelona actually did. And they absolutely trounced everybody. Yeah. It's not possession for the sake of possession. And Ferguson was exactly the same. One thing that would drive him mad was his team passing the ball too slowly.
Yes.
You pass the ball fast, and then you get the defence moving, and they're slightly out of position. And it only has to be slightly for you to get a gap to do something.
Yeah, the margin of error is very small, especially at high speed. If you're passing it very slowly, not only are you putting the fans to sleep, you're actually telegraphing it or emailing it to the opposition. They can regroup and position themselves.
I mean, in any ball game, you're either asking questions or you're responding, and you want to be asking.
Right, exactly.
So when you have the ball, ask questions.
Right, well, Ndombele, he can do that, I think.
He can. I think
good signing for Tottenham, 65 million?
A very good signing for Tottenham, yeah. They need a player like him. Actually, the Dembele that they used to have on his good days was exactly like that. Yeah. He was a guy who just took the ball and thought, oh, goal, right, we're going that way, boys.
Just head down and head for it,
And defenders hate it. Defenders hate anybody running at them.
Tottenham fans had a name for him, it was the Beast, because he was a big, solid player with a lot of skill. Yeah. And I think Ndombele is going to be the same. Let's hope. We're also up for a player from Leeds, which is a very strange one.
Oh, the winger.
Yeah, he's a winger. Clark.
Good player.
Good player, but it's a bit odd that Tottenham looking for top four again.
I can't see where he fits in at Tottenham, to be honest.
Neither. But strange signing, but back up. Maybe he's back up for somebody. Yeah. But Ndombele is the headline here. Let's move on to your favourites, Manchester United. How much you hate them and their current signings. Let's not say their current signings. They're kind of going for everybody.
Well, I actually counted the number and wrote down the players that they have admitted being in for this season, or in this close season. Harry Maguire, they pulled out of that today. James Rodriguez, Adrien Rabiot from Paris Saint-Germain, he'll actually go to Juventus. De Ligt, he's going to go to Juventus as well. Jordan Sancho, staying put. His advisor said don't go within a mile of Man United. Griezmann, he'll go to Barcelona. Bruno Fernandes, he might end up at Manchester United, but it's a big amount of money. They're talking about 70-odd million. I don't know, but how many Man United fans were screaming for him last season? Right. Yeah, none of them had heard of him. Raphael Varane, they floated last week. Wow. And Real Madrid came back because his buyout is 430 million. so Man United back to where again? Yep. Koulibaly from Naples. Again, his advisor said, no. Why would you swap Champions League for Man United? Well, yeah. Declan Rice and Issa Diop at West Ham. Again, same thing. I said not a chance.
I mean, players from West Ham 5 years ago or 7 years ago, if they were being touted by Manchester United, would have been blushing with being sort of coveted by Man United. Now they're going, you must be joking.
Well, yeah. Next season, West Ham, Wolves, Everton, and Manchester United and maybe Arsenal are all going to be competing for the Everton Cup. So
the Everton Cup. They're all on the same level.
They're all on the same level. Yeah,
why would you leave West Ham to go to United?
Yeah, but continuing, Lo Celso from Real Betis. It's possible they might still get him, but again, no Man United fans had heard of him. Alexandro from Juventus. 50 million? It's possible, but unlikely, I think. And then they went very strong on Yuri Tielemans a couple of weeks ago, and they bid 36 million, and Leicester said that's not enough. I agree, 36 million isn't enough, but Tielemans, if you're setting yourself up, you're claiming to be one of the best teams in the world. Yuri Tielemans isn't the answer. Tielemans is at the right level at Leicester. Leicester, Everton, Wolves, West Ham, he's that level of player.
They'd be happy to have him.
Happy to have him. Yeah. He'll improve their team. As he's improved Leicester. I mean, he is a definite improvement this season for Leicester. He provides the base that lets Maddison make the passes and create the chances. He's a good player. Good box-to-box midfield player, no question. But Man United?
Yeah, I mean, there was a time, you mentioned Harry Maguire, great, very good young player. There was a time when Manchester United fans would complain that United always overpaid for players. Now, they were offering 50 million to Leicester. Leicester want 100 million. First of all, what does that say? Well, first and second of all, what does that say about both clubs?
Well, I think Man United are in exactly the situation that Arsenal used to be in under Wenger. To keep the fans happy, they'd announce that they were in for this player, in for that player, in for another player, and then they'd never offer enough money to get them. And we tried, but it was too expensive. Well, that's crap. I think that Solskjaer's budget for this transfer window was 150 million plus anything from sales, and they've just blown a third of that on Wan-Bissaka.
Wow. Yeah, I mean that's a lot of money. Well, let's talk a little bit about him, because people are saying he's going to be under a lot of pressure, but the pressure is going to be Solskjaer.
I think I don't think the pressure will affect him at all. He's really level-headed. He's quite special, I think. I'm sad to see him go to Man United, because he's a special player. But the other teams up there, they're sorted in his position. So why do they want him?
So the only option for him, if he wants to get into a so-called big club, is to go to United, or
pretty much. Yeah, City don't need him. They've just increased the offer for Walker, so he signed a new deal. They brought in someone as backup, City. Liverpool, TA squared. He's there. You're not
TA squared. You better explain that one.
Well, it's Trent
Alexander-Arnold.
Alexander-Arnold. So TAA. So it's TA squared.
TA squared. Very good. Love it.
Tottenham would be a good shout, but would they pay 50 million for a fullback?
I mean, if 65 million is for a midfielder is our record signing ever, I don't think Levy would pay 50 million for a fullback. No, I don't.
No, probably should. I'd much rather see him go to Tottenham. They're a team that he'd look good at Tottenham. He'll look good at Man United as well. Yeah. He'll improve the team, no question at all. He's led in the top 5 European leagues. There's more tackles than any other player in the top 5 European leagues this season.
That's incredible.
And in terms of interceptions, he's number 4. So he is the real deal. Some of those tackles he has to make because he's young and you're not really used to being a fullback, and he's essentially playing out of position. And he gets himself in the wrong position sometimes, but he recovers and he makes those tackles.
That's the difference.
Yeah. So he's great, and he will be fantastic. Remember, he's only been playing fullback for just over a year. He was converted from an attacking midfield player just over a year ago.
Well, that could be the story, because if you remember, Harry Kane, of course, was not a striker to start out with. He was a defender, and look what happened there. So it could be the making of him, even though it is Manchester United. Let's stick with them, because Paul Pogba. The story continues, of course. Juventus, the rumours that he's going to go back to Juventus, him complaining that his price tag has held him back, all these kind of things. Giving statistics there. Paul Pogba doesn't feature very high on any statistics where he should, being the most expensive player in that position, being so coveted by himself, by Man United, being this great player. He doesn't really feature very high anywhere, does he?
No, of all I've got the Premier League player statistics, and for midfield players, the only one of the 4 categories for midfield players that he even gets into the top 10 in is arguably the most important one, actually. But he's number 9 in assists. Number 9.
Wow.
Okay, so...
I mean, the only thing he wants to be number 9 in is the shirt number, isn't it, really?
Well, yeah, I mean, he's beaten to that position by Callum Wilson of Bournemouth. Anybody talking 150 million for Callum Wilson? I don't think so. Then Raheem Sterling. Well, okay, we'd understand. Leroy Sane, TA squared. Andrew Robertson, the left back of Liverpool.
Right, of course.
There's more assists than Paul Pogba. Ericsson, Ryan Fraser from Bournemouth, who there's lots of rumours he's going to Arsenal, which would be a good move for him.
Good move for both. Yeah. But he's not 150 million.
Yeah, but he's probably a third of that. But he's the second most assists in the Premier League last season, behind Eden Hazard.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's a good place to come second. Yeah. That's a good position to come second in, isn't it, behind Hazard?
But in all the league, the statistics for passing, key passes, etc., Pogba isn't even in the top 10.
So he's not in the top 10 for all the things that he's supposed to do.
He's supposed to do.
Basically, his job description, he's not in the top 10 for.
Correct.
Among players from Brighton, Bournemouth, Fulham who've gone down.
Yes.
They've got players performing better than him in his position.
That's right.
And, we're talking about 150 million for a player that's performing not just below par, but below his peers who cost a third or a fraction of his supposed cost.
Well, Manchester United just being stupid with the price, because when there was talk of him going for around about 100 million, and they floated that to Juventus, and Juventus said, we wouldn't even pay you what you paid us for him. We didn't think he was worth that. We were happy to take it, but we didn't think he was worth that. So any increase on that after what he's done in the last 3 years?
Yeah.
There's no rationale for it.
Let's just before we do wrap it all up, because I want to have a little look at Real Madrid, because they've been spending very heavily since they got Zidane.
They have, yeah.
Zidane. But before we move on, just Solskjaer last season when he took over, of course, that so-called managerial spike that we all expected went on for a very long time. Results all over the place that nobody expected from that Manchester United team. They then kind of found their level. I don't know, they all sort of woke up and started performing as they had been. He's on a hiding to nothing. They're not going to be signing players that they would want to be. Harry Maguire would be an answer to a lot of questions for them. He's not going to go there. He doesn't want to go there unless they want double the money. What can Solskjaer do to get them out of this, what is going to be a battle for 6th and 7th, the way they are currently?
Well, if they cannot offload Pogba and generate the money to buy players to replace him, which is going to be very hard, both those things will be hard. How does he get them playing? I don't know. I don't see it.
Not with the players they've got.
No.
It's going to be a tough season for them.
I think it's going to be a very tough season. I mean, of the players that Manchester United, since the end of the 2015 season, they've spent £705 million on players. 705 in the last 4 years. Yeah. And Mourinho spent 95 million on 3 defenders that he refused to play: Bailey, Lindelof and Dalot. Now, Lindelof was their best player last season,
by the way. Yeah.
So he's in one of your centre backs. But you need another one, and who is it? And they're struggling to replace. Well, struggling to get one. And then they've given increased deals to the Jones and the other clown who was in there, who couldn't make it into the Charlton first team before Man United bought him. So Smalling, that's the guy.
Smalling, yes.
Yeah, but they're suffering now from their history. There's 9 players: Pereira, Rojo, Jones, Bailey, Lindelof, Shaw, Darmian, Fellaini and Smalling. They paid £230 million for that lot, but their buyout fees totaled 117 million. So why did Manchester United pay 111 more than the buyout fees for these players?
So this is, dare I say it, suspicious.
It's extremely suspicious, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is this thing about Man United players, as I said earlier, Man United fans complaining that because they're United, they have to pay more for players than anybody else would.
It's a nonsense.
There's another reason for it.
If there is a buyout fee, then they can offer that, and if the player wants to go, he goes.
Yeah, the club can't stop him leaving. Yeah.
So you have to ask the question: why have they consistently paid 50% over the odds?
Something to do with agents, I suspect.
I would imagine so. Yeah.
We will discuss that at length on another podcast. Yeah. Let's move on.
But Real Madrid.
Yes, Real Madrid.
I mean, to link it to Manchester United, the value of the Real Madrid squad now is £784 million. The value of the Manchester United squad is shown by Manchester United to be over £800 million.
How does that work out?
Yeah, so
that Real Madrid squad is 100 million worse or cheaper.
Well,
than what
it makes no sense at all. I mean, Real Madrid, they bought in this window so far, they bought Hazard for 90, Jovic for 54, which has got to be the bargain of the season.
Really, yeah.
Jovic for 54 million is
that's absolutely incredible signing. Yeah.
Incredible.
Cheaper than Harry Maguire.
Yeah. Militao for 45 million. He's centre back from Porto. Mendy, the other Mendy, not the one that plays for Manchester City. The left back from Lyon. Rodrigo, who's a winger, plays for Santos. He's come in for 40 million. Plus 8 players coming back from loan at the end of this season, including James Rodriguez from Bayern Munich and Kovacic from Chelsea. So, you look through that Real Madrid squad and you can see value everywhere. Every single player in that squad is a really top-class player. And then you look at Manchester United and you think, well, where is the 800 million here?
You take 150 off for Pogba, I suppose.
Well, no, I mean, yes, they're saying 150, but 150 is a joke. Yeah, there's no way. Eden Hazard went for 90, so there's your market price there.
Yeah, so Pogba 65, 70.
Yeah,
really. If if you're going to compare him to Hazard,
which is what Juventus think he's worth.
Yeah. So that Man United squad are heavily overpriced.
Yeah.
And certainly, if you were to get that Real Madrid team that you've just quoted against the current Manchester United team, and you put them in a game, best of 5, United would win 1 maybe out of the 5.
Probably not even that.
Not even that. Do you think Chris Smalling and all that? It's not the Man United team of old. Alex Ferguson, would never have had. In the transfer market or in his first 11, I don't think he would have played many of those current players.
No, although he did buy Jones.
True enough, he did. Yeah.
Yeah, but that to be fair, that was at a time when Jones at Blackburn was a young up and coming centre back, and people were saying, he's good. He's okay. So why not? There's a great quote about Manchester United in the papers last couple of weeks. So what are Manchester United? They've become a half-baked superstar vehicle, the China of the Premier League, a convalescent home for basking stars manacled by their own wages.
That's beautiful. I think that sums it up perfectly. Yeah. Do you want to give credit to where that comes from?
It came from The Guardian, one of their writers, but I can't remember which one.
But that's brilliant.
There's another one which is a bit more cruel, which says, I suppose sometimes you're a team fueled by mythology and enchantment and the promise of salvation, and sometimes you're a team in the Champions League quarter-final playing Phil Jones in defence.
I'm afraid that, or maybe not afraid, I mean, you're rather enjoying it, but it's a completely different Manchester United. It's like it's like a pre-Alex Ferguson United. Well, they've gone back to where they were.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, if you want to know the point at which it changed, it was the point where they bid for Bastian Schweinsteiger from Bayern.
Right.
Why is the self-proclaimed best club in the world buying a reject from Bayern Munich? Yeah. Bayern Munich wanted him out. They brought in Vidal to replace him and were looking for someone to sell. Now, if you're the top team in the world, why weren't you in for Vidal?
Yes, actually, you should be going for the player they want to replace their old, tired, no longer of any use player.
No, he wasn't cast-offs. Wasn't no longer of any use, but he was past his best. So what's he doing at a club that claims to be one of the top clubs in the world? Shouldn't be there.
It's like you said there, the China of, etc., Manchester United. I watched yesterday or this morning Wayne Rooney scoring, of course Manchester United, Wayne Rooney scoring an absolutely incredible goal from within his own halfway line for the American team he plays for. And I was thinking, well, that's the level he's found himself at.
Yes.
But you could, in praise of Rooney, you still have to get the net is still the same size and the same distance away. The goalkeeper was off his line, so it's a fabulous goal. But Manchester United are sort of in that position of Wayne Rooney now.
Yes.
Or they're buying players of the Rooney ilk or level that he is at now. It does seem that they are the new sort of Washington DC.
If you look at the players that they are seriously looking to buy at the moment, David Brooks from Bournemouth.
Good grief.
Max Aarons, a defender for Norwich.
From Norwich, ladies
and gentlemen. Sean Longstaff, midfielder for Newcastle. Now, Longstaff, I think, is a good player.
But is he Manchester United good? And when I say is he Manchester United good, I mean the image that Manchester United have of themselves.
The image they have of themselves. How many Man United fans 6 months ago were saying, "Oh God, we're going for Sean Longstaff."
Yeah, really.
I mean, no.
Yeah. It's a sad state of affairs. And talking of which, finally, we'll just move on very briefly because, of course, Steve Kenton of KARLE and KENNERS is an Arsenal fan. Sorry, Steve, crosses to bear and all that. Arsenal in the transfer window. Not a lot happening. They've been linked to a few players. Tierney from, was it Celtic?
Yeah.
I don't think that, the rumours going around the papers the last few days about him.
And Fraser from Bournemouth.
So are Arsenal now in the same position as Manchester United?
Very similar position, yes. Very similar.
So who do we're looking, before round it up now. There's Arsenal, Wolves, Everton and Manchester United and West Ham, you said are all going to be competing for the same...
For the Everton Cup, yeah.
The Everton Cup, which is, 6th place to finish.
7th place.
7th place finish, apologise. Yes, apologise to Wolves, who are going to finish 6th.
Yeah.
Top 7 then, how's it going to look?
Well, I think you can perm, any one from that lot. I can only see decline for Manchester United.
Right.
They're a poor team. There's no structure to the team. There doesn't appear to be any structure behind the scenes to create a new team, and they've got their highest paid players don't want to be there.
Right.
So it doesn't look very good. Arsenal, okay, if they bring in Fraser, that's a good buy. They've got 2 very good forwards, if they can hold on to them. Lacazette and Aubameyang, very good players. They're going to lose Lucas Torreira to Italy imminently. The deal's been, it's been talked about for a week and a half now, so he's going to go. And he was one of their bright spots last year, I thought,
right,
Torreira.
Yeah.
So... it's a load of questions, but the things Arsenal need are the things Arsenal needed for the last 7 or 8 years. They need the spine of the team.
Yes,
and it's going to cost them money.
I mean, I saw an Arsenal fan complaining on Twitter, which is always nice to see. Today, saying that the position that Arsenal are in is that their rivals, biggest rivals, emotionally at least, Tottenham, have just bought a midfielder or buying a midfielder for 65 million that would fit in the Arsenal team, and he's actually at 65 million is the entire Arsenal budget for transfers. Yeah. That's where they're at now.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I've said before on the radio show, and I think I said before on one of the earlier pods, that the owners of these top teams now, they're not interested in winning anything. The win for them is a financial win, and you get that by getting into the Champions League. Top 4, they don't care about winning.
No, it's getting there and
it's
earning
getting
the money,
there, and earning that money is the thing that they want more than anything else.
Yep.
Now, Arsenal have played this game for a long time, and Wenger was very, very good for them in always getting them into it, and never having the money to produce a team that would win it.
Yeah, but he got the top 4 trophy.
Because how much more money is there when winning it? I don't know the prize money is for being champions to second place. Yeah. But to them, it's not worth spending another 100 million on a couple of players to get it.
To get 80 million in prize money or whatever it is. Yeah.
So just being in the top 4 is the thing. Now, it comes back to bite Arsenal, it's coming back to bite Manchester United, because they don't have the money to get into it. And the money is what gets you there. And it always has since the Premier League started. The team that spends the most money wins.
That's it. Well, yeah. Apart from the very odd occasions with Leicester.
Well, Leicester was the exception.
Yeah, there's always an exception, which proves the rule you've just stated. Yeah. That's pretty much all we've got time for this episode. I'm Chris Karle. This was KARLE and KENNERS. Big thank you to Geoff Saunders. Thank you,
welcome.
Geoff.
Enjoyed it.
Thank you very much. You can follow us on Twitter and Facebook at KARLE and KENNERS, capital K, capital K. We'll be back with more football gossip and rumours and football history next time on KARLE and KENNERS, Hitting the Bar, football from monocles to man buns.
You're listening to KARLE and KENNERS, Hitting the Bar, for your weekly football news, for all of your football views, and yes, that football banter. One a Tottenham supporter, the other an Arsenal supporter, all here on KARLE and KENNERS, Hitting the Bar.